Hello! Welcome back to my channel, a rant, whatever the word is, because I'm not saying show, because I said that last time. The channel where I yap about everything and anything. Today, I'm going to be yapping about Comphet lesbians, which I am. Well, was. I'm just a lesbian, but in case you didn't know, I'm gay. I don't know if that's obvious or not, but yeah, I'm a lesbian. And today I wanted to talk about, like, Comphet lesbians in media, because I've always, as a kid, I've always gravitated to Comphet lesbians. I wonder why, and I never really, like, saw what they were doing, or, like, at least, like, there were some that were canon. Like, I loved Applewhite as a kid. Loved Applewhite. I was like, that is me. She is me. Which I will get into later. Applewhite, just a preface, I'm not defending Applewhite, because she does do some, like, really shitty actions, but I think y'all would have liked her a little bit more if the writers had more time with her. So I will get into that. I will get into that later. However, right now, sorry, whoosh, 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 back on track. Anyway, I loved Applewhite. I loved her so much, and she was canonically a Comphet lesbian. But characters like, Rarity, or characters, well, she's basically canon, but, characters like Rarity or Lottie from Princess and the Frog, characters like that, like Regina George type characters, very pretty femmes, Comphet. I related to a lot as a kid. I loved those types of characters as a kid. And I wonder why, because I would see the same thing I was doing with guys with that, like, for example, I loved me and Lottie could be, like, exact copies of each other. I loved fairy tales. I grew up on Disney, watching all those Disney movies, and I was obsessed with the idea of finding Prince Charming, like, obsessed with the idea. I was like, I'm gonna marry Prince, and I'm gonna be a princess. I don't care, I'm gonna be a princess. And I remember being on the playground, like, scoping at the boys, like, ooh, who could be my Prince Charming? And all I could think about was boys, but specifically because I wanted a happily ever after. I wanted my fairy tale ending, and I wanted to ride away in a carriage, and so I was like, okay, the best way to do that is obviously date a guy, obviously. And so I was obsessed with boys as a kid, but I never really was, like, actually obsessed. I'll get into that later, but I don't know, it was like, I could not stop, like, scoping out guys that could, like, I could date, and then I would date them. There was this one really sweet boy in, like, elementary school that I dated, and he was very nice, but, it ended pretty quickly, because I just wasn't interested in him, and I was just kind of like, we're friends, we're great friends, but now that we're dating, I'm kind of just like, okay, so what, we just hold hands, like, that's kind of it? I don't know, that's a little lame. And so I was just kind of like, okay, well, obviously there's no spark, because they all talk about this, like, I remember I watched Princess Diaries, and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, obviously, and I was like, there's no spark, we can't be together, because, there's no passion. And I'm like, girl, you're in 3rd grade, what are you talking about? So there was that, and, like, I'd, like, had to go through, like, a couple of guys before I realized, like, you're just really not into them, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, something's happening. Why does this not, like, keep not working out? And then I dated a girl, and suddenly the stars aligned, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, we were chasing after an idea. Okay, cool. And it's like, I cared about them as friends. Like, a lot of the guys I dated, I did care about, like, as friends. I love them. They were great people, but I didn't love them like I love girls. And so, like, I don't know, once I started dating women, I was just kind of like, oh, this makes much more sense. Okay. And then looking back at all those characters I, like, idolized and loved as a kid, I'm like, oh, you were all doing this. Like, again, the best example, Lottie, like, obsessed with the fairy tales, constantly obsessed with finding Prince Charming to the point that she's, like, more just obsessed with the idea, of, like, finding a prince, and not really, like, oh, he's gonna be, like, amazing and awesome. She's less focused on the actual guy, and more focused on the, fairy tale ending that comes with it. And, you know, like, that was me, dude. That was me. Twin. Oh my gosh, yeah. And so, like, another character that I really related to as a kid, Rarity. I loved Rarity. She's the whole reason I'm into fashion. Like, I love Rarity. And she was, like, dude, she was awesome. She got me into fashion for the first, she is, I think, a huge fashion inspiration for me. And I, like, sew my own clothes and, like, dress up a lot because of her, which is funny to say about a cartoon horse, but, you know. Yeah, but, like, I related to her as a lot as a kid. They're, like, the best example I have is, like, the Grand Galloping Gala episode, where she's like, oh, I'm gonna meet this handsome guy, and he's gonna sweep me off my feet, and, we're gonna end up together, and it's gonna be amazing. And then she gets there, and she's like, oh, you're annoying. I do not like you. I don't like you at all. And, like, she does that a lot, where she's obsessed with the idea of guys, but then when she actually, like, gets with them, she's just kind of like, you're not it. And I related to that a lot, and I'm like, oh my god, you are me. Not picking up on, you know, you're gay. So, you know, I just kind of missed that entire point as a kid, and now, like, looking back, I'm just like, wow, it was really right in front of my face. Time to talk about the character that haunts my dreams, Applewhite. I love Applewhite. That is a very controversial take. People hate Applewhite. And I think it's valid in some cases. I think it's valid. She deserves a lot of valid criticism. However, she would have been so much better if the writers gave her more time. Oh my gosh, I will always talk about that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so, Applewhite, Ever After High. You know what, I'll put a spoiler warning at the beginning, because I'm spoiling a lot. Or I don't think I'm spoiling a lot. I didn't spoil My Little Pony, and I don't think I spoiled, Princess and the Frog. If you haven't watched Princess and the Frog by this point, I'm kind of like, it's been out for a while. But, you know, oh, where was I? Oh, I keep forgetting, losing my train of thought. Applewhite, yes. So, I think she was supposed to be really well written. She's a very selfish character, like, for sure. She acts very selfishly. She only thinks about herself. She's so focused and locked in on her fairy tale ending that she does not care about what happens to her friends, even if, like, they're gonna be, like, you know, thrown in jail and tortured their whole life. She doesn't really care. Well, I think she does. But I think she does care. But I think she's been, like, told her whole life, like, if she doesn't do anything, if she doesn't accept her fairy tale destiny, everyone will die. She's so focused on, like, tradition, because that's what everyone told her what she was supposed to do. And now that the moment that she's, like, being conflicted with it, like, her friend is saying, like, I don't want to follow tradition, she's just kind of like, well, we have to. That's, like, what we've been told our whole life. Like, we can't just break away. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we can't break away. And I think, like, there is something to be said, because I think she would have totally been on the rebel side if the story would have continued. And if they picked up what they were going to do with Darling. Because, okay, so, you know, after the Dragon Games, this, again, major spoilers for Ever After High. This is spoilers. After the Dragon Games, Darling kisses her, right? In the snow special, I don't remember what the season was called. Winter Wonderland, I think it was called. Winter Wonderland. She's seen, like, actively being like, no, it's Daring. I'm like, I'm supposed to be with Daring. I'm supposed to be with Daring. And it isn't until, like, later where they're like, okay, bud, this isn't gonna happen. I think if they would have kept it going, like, just at least 2 more seasons, in the next season, here's my, if they would have continued, here's my, like, dream, my dream season. Basically, Applewhite and Daring are no longer together. Daring is happily in love with the Beauty and the Beast girl. I forgot her name. Rosabelle or something along those lines. It's been a while since I've watched it. He's happily in love. She has to come to terms with, okay, I gotta move on. And then Darling comes into the picture. And Darling's like, hey, I know you're trying to avoid, you know, confronting this part about yourself, but like, I did kiss you. And then the two bond and get closer, and Applewhite falls in love with Darling by that season. But then I think at the end of the season, she has to realize, like, wait, my fairy tale destiny says I'm going to be marrying Prince Charming. What happens now that Prince Charming is now Princess Charming? And then having to be like, crap, I'm in love with Darling, and I want to be with Darling. However, my destiny says that I have to marry Prince Charming. Crap. And I think, like, again, I do think she is a selfish character. Because I think there's something to be said about not caring about the fate of your friends until it affects you. However, I think she would have been a much more complex character, and people would hate her just a little bit less. And then I think if she would have, and then here's my next season. After that, she starts rebelling. She directly goes against her mom and the headmaster, and is like, or Headmaster Grimm, and she's like, no, we're not signing the Storybook of Legends. I'm not gonna let this happen. I'm defending this because I'm in love with Darling, and I don't want I don't want to sign that if that doesn't mean if that means I can't be with her. And I'm so sorry to my friends for like trying to force you into this destiny that you don't want. Because I think for some people, like, they need it to affect them before they can really, like, understand. And she's been so privileged her whole life. Like, she has this dream destiny. Like, dude, she had everything, and it's like everything her parents told her was perfect. And so she, like, idolized it in her head, and, like, she needs everyone to be, like, everyone needs her to be this one person. And she's like, okay, well, what happens when, like, I don't want it? When she finally gets to say, I don't want to be that. I think, obviously, she'd still be, like, complicated. Because she is selfish for not seeing her friends in pain and not trying to help them. But I do think that they're, like, I think the hate for her would be a lot less if she got that development. And it just never happened. And it's like, I see all this, like, Applewhite slander online, and it's like, yes, she is selfish, but she is a good character. And I promise she had more depth. It's just the writers stole it away from her. Well, not the writers, but, you know, the Mattel, because I canceled the show. I did forget to mention Chloe from Miraculous. I think she also fits into the Comphet lesbian trope that I was obsessed with as a kid. However, I ranted about it for way too long, so I had to trim that down. So I'm probably gonna just do my own video at some point, maybe tomorrow, just talking about Chloe from Miraculous, because I could talk about that for, like, hours, because I have very strong opinions on Chloe. Yeah, so that'll just probably be its own video. But yeah, Chloe, another character that I loved, that was also a Comphet, or at least I think was a Comphet lesbian. Yeah, but, you know, anyway, being, like, a Comphet lesbian is just, like, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. And it's really hard for, like, you to identify, that you're being Comphet, especially, like, as a kid, because it's, like, I was obsessed with boys, but again, I really wasn't, like, you know, it's a complicated thing. And then, like, now people, like, my mom don't believe me when I say I'm gay, because she's like, well, you were so in love with boys, like, as a kid. And I'm like, yeah, but, like, I wasn't really, like, I liked the idea that, like, I could have a happily ever after, but I wasn't really into the idea of that I would have to be with a guy. I don't know. And, like, it's really hard. I don't know. Any Comphet lesbians? Type down in the comments. Let me know your experiences, because it's, like, it is rough out there, dude. It is rough. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that'll probably be it for the video. I'm thinking about doing a video on Welcome Home soon. I had tried to, like, script out a video, about Welcome Home a while ago, but then the update happened like immediately after. So all of my lore was incorrect and I had to rewrite it. So if y'all are looking for like a more messy, you know, video about it, then, you know, I could do that. I could probably do that. Yeah, I don't know. I hope y'all have a great day or night or whatever time it is. I hope you eat some food, drink some water, maybe brush your teeth. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right.